Hey, remember that time that I hit the outro music instead of the intro?
What happened? And then you brought us in, I think, a little early at one point. But yeah, what's up, everybody?
It's so much harder. It's so much harder for my phone.
Right, with the delay.
Oh, classic. All right, Austin, take it away, man.
All right, what's up, everybody? Welcome to a very special episode of Pop Culture Corner. We're gonna do something a little different today, guys. But before we get started, make sure you like, share, subscribe, tell your friends, your enemies, your moms, your grandmas, your dads. Let everybody know about us. And
dog, tell your dog.
Yeah, tell your dog about us too. I mean, why not? I mean, I talk to my cat all the time, but that just tells you how lonely I am. I think I just gave too much away there. But what's up, Paul? We got Paul back from Into the West Comics. What's up, dude?
Happy to be here. Super excited to be back on here. This was a lot of fun last time, and I'm glad you guys wanted me back.
Yeah, man, it's fun to have you back, and we had a good discussion last time, and got some fun stuff to talk about today. What's up, everyone in the chat? CJ, Adam, Billy, what up? Our usuals. Well, I guess to start out this morning, we'll start with the big announcement. They have cast after all this time. We now know one thing about the Green Lantern series. We know one thing, guys, and that is we're getting Guy Gardner. Apparently, I don't know too much about Guy. I don't think I've even read a comic with Guy Gardner in it. Actually, maybe I did. But I didn't care about him that much. So I know Jessica Cruz. I know John Stewart. Paul, do you know anything about Guy?
He's better in some things than he is in others. He's never bad. He's just he's the Green Lantern that's kind of the kicking post most of the time. He's brash and he's annoying. I told you before the show, he's like, sometimes he's kind of just there to get punked by Batman. But there is I think the most fun moment with Guy Gardner in it I can think of. It's not really his moment, but he's in it. There's a comic, and in the animated show at one point, he does something, and Batman punches him and knocks him out cold with one punch. And I can't remember who it is. I think it's Blue Beetle or Flash is like one punch. And then years later in a Green Lantern Rebirth, Hal Jordan story, Hal Jordan decks Bruce. And he doesn't knock him out cold, but he knocks him down because Bruce was acting like a ass, and Hal Jordan decked him, and Guy was there, and then Guy did the one punch, and that was a fun moment. It was Guy didn't do it, but he kind of that felt good.
Right.
Yeah. So he works. He does not work on his own, but he works as an ensemble, and every once in a while he'll have a moment where he's his hard-headed toughness is actually a benefit and helps the team rally. So he'll be good in a team unit, which is what this show is supposed to be. I don't know anything about the show either. I barely knew that it was confirmed. I'm
right.
I
don't even know, and it's been in development for I think 5 years or something like that. I forgot to even check this morning if Geoff Johns is still the one running it. Last I heard, he was the one running the show and kind of putting it together. So, but I think it's interesting, I think when we kind of talked a little bit about this is that they're not using, the main ones everybody knows, like John Stewart and Hal Jordan. They're gonna kind of go for the newer ones, I guess, and for the ones people aren't so familiar with which I'm kind of I don't know. I still haven't seen a great version of Hal Jordan on live. I still haven't seen a version of John Stewart besides Justice League.
I haven't seen outside of the animated stuff. Yeah, I think what they'll probably end up doing is kind of akin to what they do in the comics. There's like 2 stories. There's the Green Lantern Corps, which is like everybody except Hal Jordan. And then Green Lantern, which is Hal Jordan. Like he's in that, and then everybody else is in the other one. They cross over from time to time, obviously. But so I think they'll do this series. They'll have Simon Baz, Jessica Cruz, Killer Guy Gardner, all the fun ones that you like have heard about tangentially or anything like that. I think Jon Stewart. I mean, I would assume he'd probably show up.
He's my favorite.
Well,
he's my favorite.
They said that Jon Stewart and Hal Jordan are like they were like purposely left out. And left out. I would assume that they're gonna have like a little cameo maybe, but not play like too much of a role. And that's like we've heard that from a couple of different people who knew something about it, and that kind of disappoints me a little bit.
I think they might be trying to save them for a movie.
I heard the same thing. I heard that they were going to be saved for like they want to do like a buddy cop movie in space.
Those two are
the buddy cop movie got scrapped.
Oh,
that was what it was supposed to be before the HBOmax show. That's when Snyder was still in control of the DCEU, and that was supposed to come out. So I don't know if that's still happening, but we could get something similar. But yeah, it was supposed to be like a Lethal Weapon kind of buddy cop, and I thought that would have been really cool.
Yeah. I mean, for me, my favorite's John. I saw Justice League Unlimited. I love that character, and then obviously I read the comics after that because I was, it wasn't until I was older that I started reading comics. But I mean, I really want to see a cool version of Jon Stewart.
Yeah, it's sometimes it's a shame he doesn't get that much play outside of like team books in the comics. But I actually pre-ordered about a month ago the celebrating 50 years of Jon Stewart book, and it's got like all of the stuff he's ever been in that like trade, and it was only like $35. It wasn't crazy. It was a hardcover, and I think it comes out June, September. I know those are 2 wildly different months, but I don't remember.
Right, June or September. It's one of the 2.
But I'm excited to get that, and I'm sure after I read all the stuff in there, I'll be like, yeah, I need a Jon Stewart movie.
Yeah. I might have to get that too because I'd love to see all the stuff that.
Yeah, it's on Amazon pre-order right now.
Oh man, if they're doing Guy, he's become a red, and I hope like as a Red Lantern guy, he's okay. So Guy's a Red Lantern.
Well, man, all of the Green Lanterns are something else at some point.
Right, yeah, exactly. They all turn into some
half
crazy.
Of them are Black Lanterns, and half of them are Red Lanterns, and half of them are Pink Lanterns and Blue Lanterns. And that was one of the things about the Jeff Johns run. Like, it started off really, really well. It was really, really good for a long time. And then it got crazy weird with all the different lanterns and all the rainbow-colored lantern stuff. And there's, what's his name? Agent Orange. It's the Orange Lantern, and it's, is it Greed, I think? Something like that. He's the only one. And it's like, dang. It's funny.
Okay, so it's like this. So, okay. So, I mean, that's another thing, too. I don't know how I feel about Geoff Johns going from, like, the comics to the movie. Like, here's the thing, right? And it kind of goes back to even, like, the Mortal Kombat adaptation, right? Like, it's cool to see, like, certain things, right, from the panel to the screen, or certain, even from a video game to the screen, certain lines. But, the movies, it comes across differently. Like,
yeah,
they can do a lot of things, both in comic book adaptation stuff that is, like, super cringe, that's straight from the comic book, but it just doesn't feel right, in the movie.
Doesn't translate, yeah. They got to change it.
And so I don't know how I feel about Geoff Johns kind of going from the comics and then into full on running like a Green Lantern Corps show, Yeah. I don't know what his experiences with movies are, but a part of me is kind of hoping that he doesn't screw it up.
Well, because most of the time.
Have either of you?
What's up there?
Sorry.
No, you're good.
Have either of you watched Stargirl? I know it's like kind of childish, but have either of you watched it?
No.
Okay, because he was, I mean, he's a producer on that, and the show, like for what it is, it's not bad by any means. It's not, but it's not great either. It's very high school girly, and but I thought it was well done, and he did do a good job on that, and then some of the other projects he's been involved with. But I do think that he is not someone who should be a head of a film department, because I just don't think that's like what he's good at. I mean, he's good at writing.
Yeah,
Right.
He was the creative director or the director of something, I don't know, for the comics for a long time. It was like him and Jim Lee were like running things at DC. And I mean, this is kind of like a 30-foot pole subject, but he's also been in some hot water recently. Jeff Johns was some maybe not so good person to do things. So he may not be getting jobs that he otherwise would have.
Right. Well, that we know about, and then especially too with there's even the Justice League, stuff that he's involved with. He's being called out on too. So yeah, I know he's being he's kind of in hot water right now. So it's
and I'm not saying
what kind of happens with
things,
that,
but I just can't. You can't tell,
Right. Exactly. Yeah. So but that's interesting that you bring that up. I wonder if he may not be involved with the show right now because they're obviously moving forward. Well, yeah, man. Okay, so moving along. Last night was for me what I keep saying. It's my favorite like animated show. Like it's hard because I know they're so different levels, but like I love Batman and Justice League the animated series a lot too. But like this is like as an adult, like this is like my show. Last night was the Invincible finale. Jack, what's up, dude? Welcome to the chat. Last night was the Invincible finale, and wow, was it bloody. I know Ty, you're not caught up yet, I don't think, but you've had a few weeks, so we're gonna go on about it. So but yeah, man, what do you think? Now here's the cool thing. I started reading volume 1 and I'm almost done with it, and I really, really love, like, especially things from like the first episode, right? And like how they really brought the comic to life in that first episode. Very, very similar. But then it kind of goes on and it they do have like some twists and turns in there and stuff. So I don't know like the overall end of the story. I don't know, any of that. And a part of me is like, should I like go read it or just wait and be surprised? So you've read it and you've watched it. So what did you think of it overall?
It was so good, and it was like when I read them, I never really thought about, well, this would be, I don't know, I just never thought about it being a show of any kind. But in retrospect, it was exactly what you would want it to be after reading it. And now, correct me if I'm wrong, I haven't read the first volume in a while. The throwdown that happens at the end of the first episode is like in the middle of or towards the end of the first volume.
Correct. It's in the middle. Yeah. It's not that's the only thing that was a major difference. The beginning of the episode was like very, very similar to like that first one.
Yeah. And I think if I remember correctly in the comic, he kills the Guardians of the Globe, and then pretty quickly he turns around and Mark finds out, and then they fight, and then he leaves.
Right.
Yeah. So, but I think it was paced a little better. Like there's no like, oh, Nolan's unconscious for X amount of time in the comic. That doesn't really happen.
Right.
The bald dude, the assistant to Cecil, he's not even in the comic.
Right. Yeah. He's a new character. Yeah.
The mom she's not a nothing character, but she just doesn't do much. And that's where I think this show is actually better than the comic. She is, she's everything that you want to see Mark getting from a parent that he doesn't get from Nolan. And you don't really get that in the comic. I was calling Nolan Nathan all day yesterday on our podcast. I wanted to shoot myself in the foot after watching it. It was super fun to watch, and knowing what's coming and Nolan's story arc. They're doing it justice right now and doing so well. And unlike like Game of Thrones and Walking Dead and I don't know. I'm sure I can think of something else. This is a finished story. So like what happened with The Walking Dead and Game of Thrones, the show's never going to catch up to the book and surpass it because it's already done. It can't. Like, you know what I mean?
Right.
So you don't have to worry about the creators trying to make stuff up. And there is so much. Like, if you have read the whole thing and you watch the season, you're like, oh, that guy's going to do something later. That guy's going to do something later. That's going to happen later. This pivotal moment right here, maybe in the comic later on, there's a different version of how this goes down.
Right.
And it's super cool.
Yeah.
I don't sit down and watch animated shows, and I watched the whole thing.
Yeah, the only animated shows I still watch is I've gone back and rewatched Justice League and Batman, but man, I love this show, and it's brutal, and I think like you said, it's kind of, I never thought about, like, obviously I didn't read the comic before, but like think about it, the animation style is like perfect for it because there's no way they could do this in live action and it be, you know, like this is an NC-17 movie, you know. It is graphic. It is super brutal. But you know, I think what do you think of the voice cast, man? J.K. Simmons for me in last night's episode, it was so interesting because it was like, you know, he starts the series, the loving father, you know, kind of caring, teaching his son how to be a superhero. You know, you got to help people and save the one and all that. To like, I'm going to burn this planet to the ground. You know, like, I'm like,
it's a pretty it seems like a pretty violent and abrupt turn. It's like I knew he did this to the Guardians of the Globe, and I guess maybe now that I think about it, you know, if I hadn't read it, maybe the whole time I'm watching it, I'm like, maybe he's gonna have a good reason for having done it. Maybe he's gonna.
That's what I was thinking. I mean,
yeah,
I was
the whole time
kind of
I'm
thinking.
watching it, I know that he doesn't, like, so I'm like, oh, cool. I'm just can't wait until the reveal happens. And it's like he was never not going to tell Mark. He was going to tell him. He just slowly but surely realized how hard it was going to be to tell him. And
yeah, that was rough, dude. That was rough. That him beating him into the mountain and just it was a lot. It was a lot. But it got announced for season 2 and 3, and obviously the volumes are pretty big volumes. They're not small. But I think they said they could take this out to like season 7 or like season 8. You know, do a full thing. So yeah, so you think it's that's something that they'll probably be able to do, kind of Walking Dead, make it a big thing.
Yeah, there's 15 years worth of comics. So I think there's 52 comics.
Right.
Yeah. And it's like, I've seen more made out of less.
Yeah, so, right. Yeah. Exactly.
I saw The Hobbit get turned into 3-hour movies.
Yeah, that's true. That is true. That was unnecessary.
Smallest book. Sorry, I don't know how we're getting on a tangent.
Right. Oh, dude. That's the other thing. I just saw the Lord of the Rings like last year during the pandemic for the first time. And it's weird because I saw The Hobbit first. And after seeing the Lord of the Rings, I was like, damn, I could have done without The Hobbit. All my movies. I was like, I could have missed those. But okay, so today's main topic, we're gonna be, you know, trying to get more into the subject. Actual comic books. We want to be talking about actual comic books, whether it's, you know, stuff that's running right now, or, you know, stuff that has just inspired us and that we love. So we'll go ahead. I'll go ahead and start with you. Like, what are some comics for you that like really like inspired you to get more into comics, or some of your favorite comic? What are the ones for you that are like top tier, top list, that like, and why? Why do they get to you? Like, why are they there for that reason? Yeah.
Right. So, I mean, which one is means the most to me and is my favorite?
Yeah.
Is like, it's a hard question because like every time I'm like, oh, this one's pretty good, and I'm like, oh, but this one's pretty good. But
yeah.
And I feel like a lot of people will agree with me on this. The first comic that you read sticks with you, like as a kid, like maybe you've read little, but the first one that you read and like really take in, like you're old enough to understand what's going on. I read The Death of Superman, The Funeral for a Friend, and the Hunter Prey a graphic novel that came out afterwards. And those ones, like I read Green Lantern Intergalactic Lawman by Grant Morrison like a week ago, and I could tell you more about the entire Death of Superman run than that. And I haven't read that in 12 years. But it just sticks with me so much more because it was the first one that I read. It was the first one that I loved. And it was like, I think that was part of the reason that I was so like, I really didn't like Batman versus Superman because I was like, that's not the way this happens. That's not this. This is only creative. But I digress. So, but it was, I read it. I watched because, my dad is my Superman. I watched Superman die and I'm like, that hurts. And I want to know more about this thing that killed him. And then Hunter Prey comes along and, it had already came along, but for me, my dad gives me volumes. Hunter Prey book 3.
Oh,
I have all 3 of them right here, I think. Yeah. It's called Superman Doomsday Hunter Prey. I don't know. Can you see it?
Yep. Okay.
And
What's up, Keely?
It's basically where Doomsday comes from, why he targeted Superman so heavily and stuff like that. And then I think tied with that is probably Nightfall. As I've gotten older, both of these comics, but Nightfall especially, Nightfall's not that great. The whole Batman breaking the bat thing, the first part of that story is the iconic classic version of that. But that, Nightfall is right. I'm going to drive someone nuts the way I do this, but it's okay. So this is the entire Nightfall paperback. And where does Batman get his back broken? Batman gets his back broken about halfway through.
Mm-hmm.
And the rest of it is Azrael. And him taking and mantle and then him beating the shit out of Bane.
Right.
And this one, and this is only volume 1. And there's Night Quest and Night's End. And it's the very beginning of this run is pretty good. The middle is pretty 90s. And the end where Batman comes back and kind of punks Azrael is pretty good. But other than the big chunk in the middle of it is you don't need to read that.
Right, you don't need to read that. Yeah. Dude, that's I mean, I'm kind of with you there too on the Batman versus Superman. Batman versus Superman over the years grew on me extensively. Oh, what's up, Sam? How you doing, buddy? And so at the end of it,
I liked it when I first watched it, and then slowly but surely I was like,
well, I watched the Ultimate Edition. I've probably seen the Ultimate Edition 10 times. So it grew, but an issue that I still kind of have with it, and I definitely had when I walked out was kind of like you said. I love the Death of Superman comic. I love the origin of Doomsday and where he comes from, why he's coming for Superman, all that. And that was something, that I felt oh man, it was very rushed and very just kind of, thrown there at the end. And I get why Zach did it. I know obviously now with the story where he was going to go with it, but I definitely would have loved a full adaptation of okay, you're going to do the Death of Superman. Let's see the Death of Superman. It's funny. I was never a big Superman person in the comics, and I think for me, I just kind of had this idea that well, he's already the strongest dude out there. The only thing that I knew that could kill him was Doomsday. And so I was I mean, I don't know. I didn't get a very
really resonate with you most of the time.
Right. What?
It didn't really resonate with you most of the time, him as a character.
Exactly. But actually, I did get into so the first comic I read was Dark Knight Returns. That was the very first comic book, which I was very much too young to read that, but I read it anyways. But that's just because I grew up loving Batman. Batman's my all-time favorite comic book character. But I started to connect with Superman because I read Death of Superman, and then I read All-Star Superman, and that was he's like I have it. It's somewhere back there.
Nice, right here.
But that was like, I loved that something about like All-Star Superman and just the way that he is, the humanity and the heroicness, but the simplicity of like, he'll help anybody. It's not just, if you're falling out of a 90-foot story, if your cat's stuck in a tree, he's gonna get the cat for you. Yeah, and so that was where like, okay, I was like, okay, I like this dude. Yeah, Superman, cool. He cooled me. But I was definitely much more like into Batman and darker stuff, which is funny because I am a pretty light, funny person, but I like a lot of really dark stuff apparently. Like Dark Knight Returns, the Lawn Halloween. I love the whole like serial killer aspect of that, and like the mystery, and all the villains too. Arkham Asylum, love Arkham Asylum from Grant.
Serious House on Serious Earth.
I again, like I liked a lot of dark stuff. It's weird now that I talk about it out loud because I'm like, is there something wrong with me? I really like some dark comics.
Batman is not that dark in compared to like maybe like Spawn or something. So
right, yeah. But that is where it led to. I did end up, reading Spawn and reading a lot of other like darker stuff. But also too, now that I'm getting
our first comic, the first comic I read was but The Death of Superman. That was the first comic I read.
Okay, very cool. Yeah, and for me, it was Dark Knight Returns. I got like the 30th anniversary big old hard book, thing, and
read through that. And that was paperbacks on Amazon. So I have 2 of the Dark Knight Returns paperbacks right now.
Right. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And I think I lent my copy out to someone. I just realized like 2 weeks ago, so I got to get that back. Yeah, that's too personal for it to be on this long. But yeah, for me it was Dark Knight Returns. And then weirdly enough, like the other one that I read right after that was I went to the comic book store and I got Wolverine versus Mystique, and it was like, it was that was like the first Marvel comic that I got, and it was really interesting. It was Wolverine's hunting down Mystique. She's like out in the desert. Wolverine's older too. It's kind of like Old Man Logan storyline, and he's hunting her down, and they get into this like brutal all out fight. Super bloody, and I think she ends up dying. He ends up killing her. But that was another one that was like the second comic I read, and I remember I just kind of picked it up because it had the teen rating on it. I had my stepdad with me in the store, and I was like, this is the one. I want the bloody one. But yeah, those were the ones that got me started. Going like now I'm getting like back into comics. Another one I read was when I was younger too, and that was interesting when WandaVision came out, is I did read House of M when I was younger. You're right. So I went back and got that, and kind of started rereading it. Because in the beginning I thought, dude, this is gonna be super similar, and then it's not. It's not at all.
It's like Vision by Tom King / House of M /
right.
The Agatha Harkness storyline.
Yeah. Billy says there's this great comic shop next to my house. I've only been there a couple of times, but I want to start. Dude, definitely, yeah. Start going, dude. Start just checking out comics. And he said WandaVision sucked. It was okay. I will say, like, after seeing Invincible and like even some of these other shows, like The Boys, Jupiter's Legacy looks pretty interesting. I think Marvel needs to step it up a bit.
I love Falcon and the Winter Soldier. I did not like WandaVision that much. I did not like it. I just didn't like it that much.
Right. I definitely like Falcon and the Winter Soldier a lot more, but even then it felt like there's just something lacking with these Marvel TV shows. But what are some we talk a lot about Marvel and DC, and obviously those are like the ones everybody thinks of and that we all know and love. But And now, as I'm older and reading comics again, I'm learning there's other studios, and Invincible, for example, Invincible's from Image Comics, and
Yep.
you know, you have a studio that you guys like Boom Studios, and they do all these sorts of. For me, I started reading the Dune stuff because I'm into Dune. I'm really big into Dune. So I started reading their Dune stuff, and then they have Berserker. But what are some outside like Marvel and DC comics that you love and that you can recommend?
So, I mean, had this been a couple of months ago, I would have said Invincible, but that's too easy now.
Right.
If look back here for a second and see if I can get any. There's a couple. One that I haven't started reading, I've heard is great, is Planetary by Warren Ellis, which is like, it's like one of the best reviewed comics of all time. I don't know. I think it's Dynamite. I don't know who the publisher is, but also coincidentally, and now when I say this, I mean it like, I'm not saying it because we always like try to hook up with Boom Studios or whatever, but
Right.
I didn't know that this comic was a Boom Studios comic until I started doing the podcast with the guys. It's called Irredeemable. It's by Mark Waid. It's a Boom Studios comic. It's about this guy named the Plutonian. And if you think Homelander and Omni-Man are assholes, you have no
idea. You already said the Plutonian, and I caught on a medium like that.
You have no idea. And he starts off as this like Superman-esque character. Yeah. And he like I don't really remember what where the fall comes from, but he just starts tearing, like, you know what Omni-Man said he was going to do to Earth and everything.
Yeah.
The Plutonian doesn't say he's going to do stuff like that. He doesn't have plans to do it. He just does it. Dude. But and it's super good. I want to say it came out around the same time as Invincible, but it's a very different story from Invincible and from all the stuff that you see. And then
real quick to touch on that, because you said that was Boom Studios, the Planetary, right? Okay, so we got some people in the chat asking Billy and Adam, what's Boom? You want to explain who Boom is?
Is I mean, relatively new. When I say relatively new, I think they've been around 10 years or so, 10, 15 years, maybe a little less, maybe a little more. If you looked at the authors on the books that they have, they're all guys that you would recognize. They got Seven Secrets, which is by Tom Taylor, who is writing Nightwing, Batman. He's writing a Son of Superman. There's pretty much not anything this guy isn't writing right now. You have Kyle Higgins doing this Radiant Black story, which is really cool. You have what else? What else can I think of? But basically, Karen Gillan is doing Once and Future. It's like a Knights at the Round Table kind of story, except it's so cool. I wish I had the trades on me, but I borrowed them from Frank to read them, so I don't. Or I'd show them. Ooh. And then they have Something's Killing the Children by James Tynion, who's on Batman right now. And Something's Killing the Children has already been auctioned, or I think that's the word.
Optioned. Yeah.
It's been picked up. Optioned. It's been picked up, and they're developing stuff for it right now. It's like these monsters that only kids can see are killing all these kids in this town, and this woman shows up and is like their only chance against them, and it like rolls out from there. And then you have what else? We Only Find Them When They're Dead, which is by Al Ewing, who you might know from, he does the Immortal Hulk, which is
probably
the best Hulk storyline.
Yep.
Over the past, I don't even know how long. And he does We Only Find Them When They're Dead, which is like there's these space merchants who they harvest the bodies of dead gods, and they sell the parts, and they take buy portions of the area of the body to harvest. But the captain of the ship is like, we need to break off and go find one that's alive. And that's kind of what that story is about. And it's the art in that is so cool. And they just have so much stuff. They have not superhero stuff. They have superhero stuff. No, not Karen.
No, not there.
I know it's not her.
Yeah.
Kieran.
Different Karen.
Am I saying her name? I think it's Kieran Gillen. Yeah, it is. Keiron and then Gilleon. And I think it's a dude. So that's another main difference.
Right. Yeah.
And
what you guys thinking? We'll get to that. Well, we kind of touched on it. I liked it. It was cool.
I loved it. I thought it was fantastic. I'm a little warmer on it than Austin is.
Yeah.
But yeah, Boom it's got all the quality of Marvel and DC. None of the continuity that if you haven't read 70 years worth of books, you're going to be confused. And just killer art, killer story writing, a bunch of titles you can go pick from. There's a bunch of stuff that I don't read that I know is supposed to be pretty good. I read the ones I listed are the ones that I'm reading and staying up on. But if you're looking to if you're not really trying to break into DC and Marvel, and you're just like, let me go to a comic book store and pick something up, like what would you recommend? Go get a first issue of Seven Secrets, or you only find them when they're dead. You don't need any prior knowledge, and one thing I would recommend to people, if you're watching this and you're like, I want to read a comic, but I don't know how, I don't know, go buy a comic for $3, $4 and flip through it. And if you like or don't even buy it, go in the store and flip through because the comic book store, they're not going to come up to you and not let you flip through the book.
Yeah.
Take it out, flip through the book, and then be like, oh, these look cool. Buy it, take it home, and then just look at all the pictures. I mean, it sounds childish, but
it's true. It's true. Yeah,
that's the pictures. And then if you're like, actually, you're like halfway, you're like on the third. Because what I did when I was a kid, I would like flip through, and I'd find myself on the third page of just trying to look at the pictures, and then I'd find myself reading it.
Right. Yeah.
And with stuff like Boom, that's even easier to just get into it. So
yeah. And Boom is like up and coming. They're like getting super polished.
I totally didn't even mention Berserker, which is written by Keanu Reeves. That one and Matt Kint. It's already been picked up for a show. It was picked up for a show before the first issue came out.
Dude. Keanu, dude.
They got Keanu Reeves involved, so Boom Studios is legit.
Well, I guess Keanu's been like working on this story for like 10 years. Yeah. Like this is something that he's been wanting to do and put together, and he got like the best of the best, to do it. I haven't read this. Have you read the second issue?
No, actually, I haven't. I forgot to get it the other day.
Okay, cool. Yeah, that's okay because I did too, so it kind of works. But what did you think? Yeah, what did you think of this first issue? Because I did read that.
I'm sorry. I'm trying to find the cover I have for the first issue.
Oh, do you have the other one?
Yeah, the other because I have a different cover.
I went and bought all 3 covers and then I gave the other 2 to some friends.
But no, I really enjoyed it, and it was super. It was action packed. I mean, the easy thing to say it was John Wick-esque, but it really wasn't. I mean, other than the fact that it was a character that looks like Keanu Reeves. It was super intense, really cool action. You're like, you leave the first issue, for me at least, with enough information to be like hooked, but also not too much to where you're like, oh, I know everything. I don't need to read the rest.
Right.
So I thought it was really cool. Evidently, I didn't pick up the second issue yet, so I don't know what that says. But no, I have so much stuff I want to buy when I go to the comic book store that I blank on stuff.
Yeah, me too. I loved it too. I thought it was great. I feel like it's a great tease for me. Like it's a very good like teaser. I really want to know more about this character and all that. It's again another very brutal storyline, brutal and violent and bloody. But I think I think with the pandemic and with I don't know what it is, but I feel like comics are becoming more and more popular again. Yeah, I was just about to get to it. He says there used to be a dozen places to buy comics where I'm at, but now just one comic shop in Barnes and Noble. But I mean, I feel like comics are starting. There's like there's a little bit of a resurgence coming for comics.
Yeah,
and people are starting to get back into that. So do you think like we'll start to see like more and more? There's not too many comic stores here in Vegas. There's probably like five or six.
I think there's a little bit more than you would. There's the 2 Maximum. There's Torpedo.
I got Torpedo and Maximum, and then there's one on Sahara.
And there's one little hole in the wall one next to my mom's house on Cheyenne and Tenaya.
Okay.
And then there's the comic book store in the Meadows Mall. They're there.
There's a comic store in the Meadows.
Yep, it's called the Comics and Stuff is what it's called. But they're definitely not as plentiful as there used to be. Like the one I used to go to when I was a kid, that's gone. It's a dentist.
Wow.
But they're there. And and that's another reason. Like if you love watching Marvel movies and DC movies or whatever, you love watching superhero stuff. Well, these stories come from somewhere. They come from the comic book store. They come from the panels. And go buy comics. Go make sure these stories don't stop coming. Make sure and I mean, they're not failing by any means, but also, I mean, they're not what they were in the 90s, that's for sure. In the 90s, comics were crazy. Like, if you look at what the best-selling single issue of all time, which I actually have one of, I kind of want to find it. It's X-Men #1 from Jim Lee. It's let's see if I can find it. Where is it at?
Billy, comment what comics do you be reading?
Oh, there we go. I found it. What'd you say?
I was saying 90s books, man. Billy reads the 90s comics. Which ones, dude?
So
that's a lot of comics, dude.
There was 4 prints of it. My dad bought it when he was in middle age. This is like the fold-out version of it.
Whoa!
It's X-Men #1 from October 1st of I don't remember 1990 something. I have a couple of but there's there's like 4 fold-outs for it. There's
right.
Issue with a different cover for each of it, it's if you look at what that did, like the numbers that did compared to what the best-selling comic of the past decade did.
Yeah.
It's kind of crazy how much of a difference it is.
Oh yeah.
And hurt a lot. Like the comics industry was hurt a lot in the mid to late 90s to early 2000s. DC didn't get hit that hard, but some of you may not know, so I think maybe this would be a cool thing to go over.
Yeah.
You guys sit and wonder, why did Fox have X-Men? Why does Sony have Spider-Man? Why did Fox have Fantastic Four? Why was Spawn off somewhere weird? Why was Ghost Rider off somewhere weird? Why were all these? Well, because around I don't want to throw out like exact dates because I'm not really sure. In the late 90s, maybe even mid 90s, early 2000s, Marvel was I don't remember who said it. It might have been even Jim Lee. They were selling. And I don't know how true this is. They were selling the desks at the offices so they didn't have to file for bankruptcy.
Wow.
That's how hurting Marvel was at that time. And so they were hurting. They had to file for bankruptcy, I think, a couple times. And they were trying to do what they could. And a big portion of that was those terrible Fantastic Four movies you got in the 90s. They sold the film rights to the Fantastic Four and X-Men to Fox. That's why you get Fox that's why you get the X-Men in the early 2000s. They sold Spider-Man off to Sony. That's why you get Spider-Man in the early 2000s. And then the reason all those characters were off at random studios was because if that didn't happen, Marvel Studios might not be around right now. Marvel Comics might not be a thing right now. And it's crazy about where Marvel was in 98, 99 and where they are in 2021. They went from a dying comic book company to the most.
They bought themselves back, basically.
I could go to Taiwan and say the word Marvel and someone would know what I was talking about.
Yep.
I could say, and a lot of people don't realize this, before the first Iron Man came out, Iron Man was a C-list character. He was not the flagship character at Marvel, and neither was Captain America. Captain America didn't have comics written about him for years.
Wow.
So it's like the flagship characters for Marvel. The reason Fantastic Four, X-Men, Spider-Man, and all those guys were sold off was because those were the flagship characters: X-Men, Wolverine, Gambit. Like, crazy to think about. Gambit was a character at one point in time than Captain America and Iron Man. You might go, what? Wow. He was like the face of the X-Men, him and Cyclops and Wolverine.
Well, yeah, even when the X-Men movies were coming out and stuff, the fans were calling for Gambit. They were like, give us a Gambit movie, we want Gambit. Yeah. Yep. And it was interesting. I think some of these studios, they just don't understand, the property. I would even say, even Marvel with they took a chance, right, with Guardians of the Galaxy. They did. That's a very and now it's a household name. Everybody knows Star-Lord and Drax and all that.
I think I said this to Frank on our podcast the other day, a couple weeks ago. The fact that more people, and I would be willing to bet anything this is true, more people would say, oh, I know what you're talking about, if you said, like, if you went up to someone's mom and you said, hey, which one of these two do you know, the Green Lantern or Guardians of the Galaxy? What do you think they're going to say?
Oh, Guardians, bro.
Guardians of the Galaxy. That's insane. That's crazy. That's unreal.
You come up to me, I'll be like, yeah, Green Lantern, Jon Stewart. Saw Justice League. I've read the comics. Saw the animated movies. But
the way Marvel has branded themselves and built themselves, and from the dumps that they were in the early 2000s, late 90s to now is unreal. And it's a slight on DC in a way, because that there's no way that the average person, should know Guardians over the Green Lantern. There's just no way. It shouldn't happen. Green Lantern's been a character for the past 82 years. Maybe it's a little shorter than that, I don't know. But he's not been like a small one either. He's one of the main guys, and it's like, do you see what happens when you do things right and do things well?
Exactly. Dude. Donovan asked a great question when we were interviewed Sean a long time ago. He was just basically like, has DC, honored the legacy of these characters? And short answer is no, they have not. They have not honored the legacy with what they've done on film. And yeah, so it's like you said, you can see when one studio does something right and when one doesn't. I'm kind of glad we never got the Channing Tatum Gambit. Did you hear about that? That Channing Tatum was going to be Gambit?
That was an on and off thing for like the better part of a decade.
Right. It had like a few directors too.
It like the best thing I can like say this is akin to, like, what was happening with the Flash movie, how it like what's his name? I almost always say David Mazzucchelli, but that's the artist on freaking Batman Year One. What's the guy's name?
Machete, Andy
Machete.
Yeah.
You can see why.
They're close.
But, Andy Muschietti was attached to that, and then he wasn't, and then he was, and then he wasn't, and then he was, and then it was happening, and then it wasn't, and then it was happening, and then it wasn't, and now finally it actually seems like it's happening. Now, play that back over a longer period of time, but it didn't end up happening with the Gambit movie. Because Tatum was signed up. I think he signed a contract. Yes, we are too. Kind of glad we didn't get that. But
Tatum was like really not interested. He was not only interested in playing the character, but like he wanted to like help with the writing and do, which is interesting. I don't know what Channing Tatum is like as a writer, but I think I'm kind of glad we didn't get that either. I actually liked the Gambit from X-Men Origins, the dude from Friday Night Lights.
Yeah, I thought he was fine. That movie was just so bad.
That movie was but it's also, for me, it's a guilty pleasure movie, I guess, because I was that was 2009, so I was like 12 years old, and that was the most violent Wolverine I'd ever seen on screen. So I was like, I'll take what I can get.
Well, with the exclusion of like Catwoman, I will tell you that most superhero movies, maybe not now, but at least half of superhero movies ever made are terrible. But I'll watch every single one of them from start to finish.
I know people rag on Daredevil, but I just saw on Twitter somebody put the clip of the scene of Elektra training and like slashing all the bags and stuff, and then him suiting up. I was like, this isn't so bad. I can get into this right now.
she's slicing sandbags, but it's fun to watch.
It's fun to watch, man. I was like, and then you have the that song playing in the background. Oh my gosh, man! Yeah, I secretly love. See, I think a lot of people secretly love the X-Men Origins Wolverine movie. I think the worst thing they did with that though was Deadpool. That was pretty hurtful.
That was pretty bad. But I mean, if that had happened and then we didn't get the other Deadpool movies, we'd be sitting here singing a different tune. But since we did, we're just like, it's fine.
Right, exactly. Yeah, we can blow it off more. Do you think? I'm a little worried. With Marvel now having Disney Marvel, I guess now having like X-Men and Blade and some of these characters that I would like and would think are a little more adult oriented, like the X-Men, Wolverine and the X-Men.
Magneto was he was a Jew in the Holocaust.
Right. Exactly. Yeah, that's no
like if that's not a kids material, I don't know what is.
Exactly. So I mean, are you a little concerned with the Disney Marvel and how they're going to handle like Deadpool and Blade, and they already said like they're going for PG-13 Blade.
Yeah, they're going PG-13 Blade. I think they already said they were going to do rated R for Deadpool. They said they were going to keep Deadpool rated R. I do very specifically remember saying they were going to do that, and in what capacity. But here's the thing: I think that I've heard they are going to produce some of these movies under the. I think they're taking the 20th Century Fox or just the Fox out of it, but they're going to keep the Fox banner on it because obviously Fox is still a thing. Fox isn't gone. It is just part of Fox isn't gone. It's just a banner under Disney now.
Right.
Where they're going to do that, have that banner over the films that came from Fox and the films that maybe they want to keep separate. And I think I am hopeful, and I think it's probable that Disney will do the right things with these characters and make a good version of these characters and not sell us short. Excuse me. And I
think this is where Marvel could kind of possibly get into DC territory as far as like the reaction from the fans, because they mess up on these guys. There's going to be that fan base kind of just like there is with, DC that is me like, hey, you can't do this with me,
I think the biggest comic book team on the face of this planet isn't the Avengers. It isn't the Justice League. It isn't the Fantastic Four. It's the X-Men. The X-Men is probably the most synonymous with people anywhere and everywhere. Maybe a little less now because of the MCU. But like I said, that comic, the best-selling single-issue comic of all time, and it's not close, is an X-Men comic. And that's not a coincidence.
And they're not even calling it the X-Men. They're calling it the Mutants.
Yeah.
So we'll see already where that's gonna lead. But yeah, man, this was great talk. I really, really enjoy this. And then hopefully next week we'll be starting to actually like get into reading and reviewing some comics and stuff. I'd like to do like the next Batman, which is out. Do
you want to? Oh, it's funny that you say that. I have right here. Did you want to do? That's funny. Wait.
You have the other.
Oh, you know what? Was that number one that you just held up?
Yeah. Number one.
I have the alternate cover for number one.
Wow. Oh, but it's the one. Okay.
But did you want to do the 4-issue run on that, or did you want to talk about because there's
I know they continued it right
second Son, which was super good. The first issue of that was super good. We could do that as a whole. That would be a lot of fun to talk about, especially because I mean, Future State is taking these characters in a lot of different directions, and most of them have been very good. And I was like, I'm usually the kind of guys like, this character doesn't need to have someone else like I don't need to see another Batman. But I was wrong, and it's fantastic.
Okay. So it's Second Son, you said?
It's the next Batman, Second Son. If I can find it quickly, maybe I can show you. No, I don't think I'm gonna find it quickly.
Okay. Well, let's do that. Let's do next week. We'll do this one, the next Batman, and then we'll do when we'll start the next Batman second.
Actually, now I think about it. Sorry, real quick. I have an idea. So the next Batman Future State was 4 issues, right? This
right.
Second Son, I'm pretty sure is supposed to be 4 issues as well. I might be off by 1 or 2. I think it might 6, but I'm pretty sure it's 4. So what we could do is we could review this one, the original 4, and then it'll be probably like 3 months before the next one is finished because the first one already came out. And if you need, I can lend you the issues that I get, and then we can review the second 4 and see like how that character carried on and those characters in that story.
Perfect.
That would be super cool.
Let's do that. Cool. So yeah, guys, now you guys know, and I'll be like putting it on Twitter and stuff all week to go pick up some issues of the next Batman to read along with us, and we'll be talking about that next week. Guys, thank you so much for joining us today. Again, please don't forget to like, subscribe, share. Go check out Into the West Comics. They are live every Thursday at 6, correct?
Correct. At 6 p.m. with the occasional, we're going to be going live for the season premiere of Loki and the season finale of Loki at 12 o'clock or 1 o'clock whenever we finish watching it. So we're going to do that. That's always fun to do and have you guys pop in. We held like, I know this might not sound like a lot.
Dude,
we held like
last week was crazy.
Viewers.
Yeah.
That was a lot of fun, though.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, yeah. So, yeah, guys, go check out Into the West Comics. Paul's there every Thursday, 6 o'clock. And then I think we'll have a morning show, Saturday edition tomorrow. We'll keep you guys updated as to what's going on. But don't forget, guys, next week we are starting Star Wars month. We're going all out on Star Wars for May the 4th. Be with you. Bad Batch is on Tuesday. Thanks for tuning in, guys. Like, share, subscribe. And we do it for you, and we do it for the culture. Peace.